segment of my YouTube channel. Please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's a pleasure to me, today to have really a close relative of mine, Mr. Gilbert Lightbourne. And I believe that his story is, all of us have a story, but Mr. Gilbert's story is so powerful and inspirational. And I hope that after you listen to his story that you're compelled to get up from wherever you are. The doctors diagnosed him with cancer, and they told him the cancer that he has will make him a vegetable. He's not going to do anything on his own. And here we are, 4 years later. What the doctor told him was going to happen to him is not happening to him. And it's because of his faith in God and the support of his family. And so I want to welcome you, my cousin Gilbert, to my YouTube channel. Introduce yourself first. Tell us who you are.
Well, I'm Gilbert Lightbourne from deep in the Big South, Stamford Street, Rural City, the place that I love. My family, father, Thomas Lightbourne, and my mother, Elmina Lightbourne. I was born in South Caicos, grew up there until age 15. I left South Caicos and traveled to the Bahamas, and from the Bahamas to the United States. So here I am between the United States and making my way back to Turks and Caicos Islands in the Big South. So Drax, thank you for welcoming me here this afternoon and to share a little bit of my story.
Thanks again. So tell us about your story. You was telling me how, you was feeling all these different pains in your body, what it was. Tell us about that.
Well, let me go back just a little bit.
Sure.
I was diagnosed with cancer twice. And at age 50, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And the outlook or the outcome from that had looked very grim. But I can say, thank God, I overcame that, God healed me from that. And I'm a victor over the cancer and still a victim. I know quite a few people that were diagnosed around the same time that I was, and most of them are not here anymore. But thank God, I believe that God would see me through that, and He did, and I'm well from that. Well, it seemed as though the devil wasn't satisfied with that. Mm-hmm. So he decided to come again and put another attack on me with the same cancer. And this time, it was one that, according to the medical science, is incurable. And the name of that one is multiple myeloma. And that is the one that is a blood cancer. And it debilitate the whole body. It attacks all of your organs. And the prognosis is, as I said, incurable. But mine was diagnosed in 2016, and the prognosis to me then that I would probably live 3 months to a year. And to have that being told to you by a physician is like, mind-boggling. After living a pretty much healthy life, and all of a sudden this comes upon you, and where did this come from? Well, that was my question to them many times, and they said, well, Mr. Lightbourne, we don't know. We can only tell you what your state is and try to help you. We can't make you any promises, but at best, if we're able to do anything for you, you would not live a normal life, from here on. And that was the prospect that I had then. Even then, when they told me that, I didn't believe it. I refused to accept it. And my faith overruled all that they were saying to me. I believe that, God had not shown me that my demise was going to be 3 months to a year. So I kind of fought against everything they said. And several times I've had interviews with my physicians, and they told me that, I need to suddenly take action to, counteract this thing. But in all of their forcing, I didn't perceive that, God, it was my time. So I resisted for at least 6 months before I decided to follow the course of action that they were prescribing to me. Most of the doctors, they have all their hopes in the medicines, which is good, and I thank them for, administering the medicines to me. But before I went into the course of action that they were prescribing to me, I prayed and prayed, and it happened so that one day I was at my personal physician and discussing the situation with her. And she told me, I told her exactly what I was going through. To explain what really happened, I was at work one day in 2015, and I started feeling real weak and faint, and I went to my physicians and tried to find out what was going on. And all they could tell me was, Lightbourne, we don't see anything wrong with you, and it's got to be maybe a state where you're tired and you need some rest. Then all of a sudden, my body started aching me, from every angle, and I couldn't figure what was going on. I went to them and told them what was happening. They could not find what was wrong and all that. So finally, in 2016, I was sitting at my desk at work and started to get up to go to the warehouse for a bit and walk around. And it happened just as I stood up, I had this pain in my back, my lower back, like I've never experienced before. And at that point, I had to hold on to keep myself balanced to stand. And I told my coworker, well, something is terribly wrong with me. I don't know what's going on. And I've got a pain that I've never had before. So I said to him, I'll just sit out for a while and just relax and see if it'll go away. Well, sat for a long while, and it never did. So I told him to call my wife and have her come and pick me up, and I'll go home and maybe go to bed and rest for a while and see if it'll go away. Well, I went home, spent the night at home in bed, and the morning after, I couldn't even get out of bed. Wow. So it was then that I decided, well, something is wrong, and we need to find out what it is right away. So my wife took me to the hospital, went to the hospital, was admitted, and after 5 days in the hospital running so many different tests, MRIs and CAT scans and everything, they discovered that I had a fractured lumbar, and more than one place. So they told me that I had to deal with that right away and try to get that knitted back together. So they went through the course of action that was required to take care of that. And after being in the hospital for about a week, they decided to run some more tests. My oncologist came and discussed, my situation with me and said, there is something wrong, but we have to go deeper and find out what it is. So my cardiologist came and he said, Mr. Lightbourne, let me take a look at, take some pictures and see if we can see anything that was going on. Well, lo and behold, they took the CAT scan, and they took the MRIs and took the photos of my upper body. And my cardiologist came and said to me, Mr. Lightbourne, you have a mass in your chest, and something's obviously terribly wrong. So we need to get to the bottom of this and find out what's going on. So after 5 days, I think it was on the 15th of August in 2016, the oncologist came and met with me. He said to me, Mr. Lightbourne, we've got some real bad news for you. And he began to tell me that, well, you have cancer. And one of the most serious ones that there is, multiple myeloma. Multiple myeloma? I said, I've never heard about that. And he began to tell me, well, multiple myeloma is a cancer that's not been, there's no cure for it at this time. But at best, if we can help you to go through it, you won't be able to live a healthy life anymore, and you wouldn't be able to function anymore, pretty much like a normal person. So when he told me that, like, my whole world had fallen apart. And many questions came into my mind, God, what did I do to deserve this? How did I get here? Well, the answer never came there. So They gave me the course of action that I would have to take if at best, they could help me sustain life for maybe a year or two. They will try to go through the process and asked me if I was willing to do it. Well, at that time I said no. I'd rather just go let live and for whatever amount of time there is and go away. So it was then that my sister, Holly, cousins came along with my wife and pleaded with me to try the course of action that the doctor would prescribe. And even then I still refused. So it was then that I went to see my personal physician, Dr. Bridget Smith, and I'll call her name. I would call her an angel from God. A Christian lady. She came and said to me, Mr. Lightbourne, I know that you're a Christian man, and your wife is a Christian lady. My wife, whenever I would go to my appointments, my wife would go and she would sing and had the whole office, rejoicing, even the clients just rejoicing and happy and hearing us singing. And my physician, Dr. Simixon, came to me and said, Mr. Lightbourne, we're going to beat this thing. We're going to beat it. You're a man of faith, you believe and trust God, and I don't see any reason why we cannot beat this. And it was then that I decided, okay, Dr. Simixon, with you at my side, I can be assured that, things are going to come out right. So it was then that she gave me the course of action that would be taken, and I agreed that I would go ahead and start the process. Well, one of the processes was chemotherapy. And the chemo, when they started administering the chemo, I thought it was worse than the disease. There was pain all through my body, all over my body. I couldn't stand, I couldn't sit, even laying down. Pain. And all the time having to be morphine and all the other medications they used to subdue the pain. So the first round of chemo was very, very gruesome. Took every strand of hair from my body everywhere. Didn't have any hair anymore. After losing the hair, my appetite left. Couldn't digest anything, and the smell of food, and just throw up. Even I didn't have anything in me to throw up whatever was there. I couldn't get out of the bed. Everything I did was right in the bed, and that was very, very a test of my faith. At that time I said, well, if I'm going to have to live this way for the rest of my life, you might as well go ahead and take it. But that was not his plan.
Yeah.
So I did the first round of chemo and lost a lot more. I was weighing at the beginning, before all of this came about, weighing 235 pounds. Then I went down to about 195, and as my appetite continued to decline, I ended up at 175 pounds. Which brought me to, I used to be a kind of healthy guy, bulky guy, and all there was skin and bones. And that got to the first round. Then the second round, they gave me a drug called Velcade. The Velcade, I guess almost took everything to the worst place it could be. From that, I developed pancreatitis, and I don't know if you may know how painful pancreatitis is. That almost kind of destroyed my whole body.
Wow.
So they treated me for that. I got over that, and they put me on another chemo and a lighter one after the Velcade and after the Revlimid, and I stayed with that one until to sustain me and prepare me for my stem cell transplant, which was the ultimate cure for at least cleaning up the bloodstream. So After 3 months of getting myself prepared and for the stem cell transplant, the time or the day came when I was ready to go and have a stem cell transplant done. And I think it was in June of 2017, yes, I can remember right now, the last week of June in 2017. And that's where they harvested blood from me months before, harvested my blood and set up to have it cleaned out and everything. And the stem cell transplant, they pumped all of that back into, took all of my blood out and pumped all of that back into me. And supposedly that took most or all of the contaminants from my blood system.
Wow, that is an amazing story. So it's now been 4 years.
4 years, yes, sir.
And I know during that time you probably felt given up the fact you said that.
Oh, many times.
Well, what kept you pushing to survive?
Well, I would say my sustaining faith in God, number one, and the support of my wife. I would say my wife was like, a champion all the way. There were nights, the times that I had to sleep in the hospital, she would come, leave home and come and sleep with me. Just about every night that I spent there. And my sister, as I said, Connie, she was there with me all the way. And a lot of other family support. I wasn't allowed to have visitors or anything. And pretty much quarantined for the most part of the before the stem cell transplant. And after the stem cell transplant, I had to be in quarantine for at least a few months also. So even going through that, not being able to see people or talk to people, even the phone, I didn't even want to be honest, I didn't want to have any phone conversations. Right. And I didn't really for almost a year, to be honest with you.
Awesome. Now, I've never heard too much about the stem cell, so I'm assuming it's probably new because I've never heard too much people using the stem cell process with the cancer. Of course, I don't know much about it. So,
well, it's been around for a while. I know a few celebrities that I don't know if there's a lady on channel. Robin Roberts.
Oh, yes.
Well, she went through the same process, and she's a survivor from it also. And quite a few more people that I know that have gone through the same process, and thank God, as I said, I can say mainly my faith in God is what brought me through. Now, the others, they can tell their stories, but I know, it sustained me. The times that I felt I was at the end and was ready to go in, I would find something to, think of God and, His power to bring me back.
Well, thanks again, and for those who are listening, I hope that you are inspired by the story, and I hope that, you do not give up. I know we've lost family members and friends to cancer, but we have a gentleman here, my cousin, who now, been a survivor for the past 4 years, and so it is possible. And we want to give God thanks for bringing him through, that he can share his story with you. And I will hear any closing remarks you want to share.
Well, I just like to thank all the wonderful people that have been an inspiration to me. And as I said, I was not in contact with them verbally, but I can read things that they would write to me and messages that they would send to me through my wife and my sister. And I thank each and every one of them that had my interest at heart and prayed for me, most especially. They would always say, we're praying for you, we're praying for you. And all the churches here in the Turks and Caicos and Bahamas, all over. So I am truly grateful to each and every one of you. And I thank God for having you to be a part of my life and to have that care and concern for me. And I'm grateful to God for all that He's done.